You made a reference, might have been a slip of the tongue, but you said something about leaving behind materialistic explanations. And there's a phrase that's used among philosophers that is methodological naturalism. That is that the explanations given by scientists are restricted to natural processes, the properties of matter. And to go outside of that limit is to invoke something non-material. Plumbers rely upon methodological naturalism when they fix your plumbing, for example. They rely upon natural means to try to solve the problem. Now, if we start thinking about abandoning that restriction and letting explanations go outside the natural domain, I wonder how far that's going to go. I wonder if you'd be willing to say that within, say, law or medicine, when decisions are being made about guilt or innocence or about the source of a disease, that in those contexts you'd want to abandon methodological naturalism as well.
I think what Jim is arguing is we don't want science to appeal to magic. And indeed, we don't want science to appeal to magic. But look what's happening right now. We're having a conversation back and forth between Jim Hoffman, philosopher, and Paul Nelson, philosopher. Agents. We are real causes. Here I am talking to you, talking to Jim. He's responding. No natural law, no physical process, no algorithm can possibly explain what we're doing. To explain this event right now, this exchange, you need to refer to a person, a unique agent over there and one over here and all of you. That's real. It's not spooky. It's not magic, but it's not reducible to strictly physical laws or processes. The causal category of agency is something that we use all the time in explaining. And in fact, in law and medicine, agency is directly relevant to assessing guilt or innocence. There are no appeals to magic, but if someone's convicted of a crime, it's because they did it, not a physical law, not a regularity of chemistry. So I think the causal category of agency, intelligence, is what we're appealing to. It's not spooky, but it's not strictly material either.
Yeah, but the other thing about that is that in these discussions, usually it's not simply agency, it's direct causality. In other words, the agent has to interact with the physical world in some way. And if that's what we're going to give up, well, then you open the way to basically to miracles.
How would you categorize the Big Bang? When it was first proposed, as I think somebody mentioned, maybe it was me, a lot of I'm getting older. A lot of scientists really were very upset with it, and as a matter of fact, in the late 1980s, there was a peculiar editorial in the journal Nature by the editor John Maddox entitled "Down with the Big Bang," which he said was philosophically unacceptable, quote unquote, and because it gave aid and comfort to, quote, creationists, unquote. Now, there was something that, what natural cause created the universe? Certainly nobody at the time knew, and people thought it was pointing towards a theological event, and yet nonetheless, we now accept it as science. I tend to see ID in pretty similar terms, that, maybe it does point outside nature, but heck, look at these patterns. It's like the pattern of seeing galaxies rushing away from each other. These patterns are things that fit into a category that we know about, intelligent agency. So if the Big Bang can be considered scientific, why not intelligent design?
Yeah, it takes time, and you and I both come from the Catholic tradition, so we have a sense of patience, right? A couple hundred years goes by, and hey, we'll get it right. So I still stand, on my same point, that the Big Bang controversy was resolved by scientists who worked in that field, and this one will get resolved also by scientists.
Okay, can I just make a point that you're then not ruling out intelligent design a priori, you're simply saying that you are going to be skeptical until more scientists join in?
I think trying to draw a line between what is scientific and what is not very useful.
No. Instead, the naturalists will ascribe to the natural all manner of phenomena that cannot be demonstrated in any natural way. He will say consciousness is merely a product of the physical, caused by neurological activity, despite having no demonstrable mechanism whereby consciousness could be shown to have arisen from mere matter, despite material causes being wholly insufficient in explanatory power and scope, and accounting for the activities of the consciousness. One of several for instances being the fact that nerve activities can be observed through the senses, while consciousness cannot. And worse yet is the lack of any demonstrable mechanism to account for the existence of rationality among human beings, not observed among the lower beasts, or any ability to empirically demonstrate the concept even exists. How does stardust become rational, that it might then discuss these issues or invoke the concepts of morality or truth? Going backward in the alleged processes of time naturalistic explanations for origins rest upon, one must ask how the ideology, doctrine, dogma of the naturalist can in any way account for evolution itself. How did matter add information to itself that it might then evolve, split into sexes, speciate, mutate, etc., etc.? And what is the natural explanation for the life force itself that cannot even be designed into existence? Scientists are not one step on a metaphorical million-mile journey closer to demonstrating abiogenesis in a controlled lab setting than they were prior to the Mille experiment in 1952. Yet, without which, the theory of evolution is dead on arrival. And what is the natural explanation for the existence of moral, mathematical, logical, and physical laws which govern our existence in the universe, and are appealed to by naturalists in their attempts to account for reality? How did an explosion and or mere matter code for such things in order that methodological naturalism might be thought in any way useful in the first place? And, as Michael Behe points out in the preceding clip, what is at all natural about the Big Bang? A force which had to defy gravity in its initial thrust and then somehow slow back down, and has resulted in several planets and moons spinning opposite in rotation from one another? How did matter just explode in the first place? And how exactly did matter, energy, and time just pop into existence? Because it did? Is that all naturalism has to offer on any of these points? And that is deemed scientific, whereas a sufficient causal agent is not? Because, of course, that would be to bring God into the picture. And that is just not scientific.
The atheist theory, basically, is also a miracle. Big Bang is a miracle. Abiogenesis would be a miracle. A cat making a non-cat would be a miracle. An elephant coming from a non-elephant is a miracle to us, because, well, that's the way we look at the world. We see cats making cats. We see gene pools only bringing forth after their gene pool. So this entire evolutionary idea is a complete miracle. I mean, people have to critique the virgin birth in the Bible, but atheists are okay with virgin nothing making something, and then virgin something now making life. So we got multiple virgin birth stories in the evolutionary ideology, but it's not okay for a woman who at least has 2 ovaries, you know, to make a baby. I think that at least the woman has the machinery to make a baby, you know. So when I look at it in the atheist viewpoint, I always see just a massive pile of hypocrisy, because the miracle is the atheist ideology, not the creationist.